So when we talk about origin stories, when we talk about superheroes, people origin stories always start with something where a person has gone through a traumatic event. And they can come out of that bitter, or they can come out with an origin story doing something great. Today, I'm bringing Dr. Michael Parker, and this individual went from a very traumatic event where he was homeless. His father had 18 acres, homeless, and 4 days before they even buried his father. And he took that and went from a very traumatic event, and it completely changed the trajectory of his life, where he ended up getting his PhD, became a lawyer, and he just does things just to do them to help other people. And I wanted to share this with you today because this gentleman is going to talk about something that we all need to hear, which is estate planning, trust, and how to protect your assets. Okay, so let's get into it. Hello again, and welcome to the High Ground Financial Freedom Podcast, the Freedom Podcast where we talk about faith, family, finance, and fitness. And we bring interesting individuals that just want to make the world a better place. And today, I'm bringing Dr. Michael Parker. And here's the thing, this gentleman has a resume that I could talk about all day. But the best thing to do is let him share who he is. And Doc, for the listeners and the viewers that don't know you and that's about to get all this information and knowledge, please share away who you are.
Well, first of all, Saj, thanks for inviting me onto your podcast. You do great work. You and I have had a chance to work together, and I really enjoy what you do on your side of the business. You help so many individuals with insurance instruments, and um, but again, yeah, as you say, my name is Dr. Michael Parker. Some people call me Dr. Parker or Doc. Um, my PhD is in organizational behavior, and I have a law degree in tax law. But my background is more so helping families and individuals protect their assets. We are estate planning and wealth protection or wealth strategy company. Um, I like to help individuals protect what they have worked so hard to obtain. A lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on gaining assets, but no emphasis on what's going to happen to those assets when we're no longer around, or how those assets being protected while we're here. And so that's why I started Parker Wealth Advisory, to be that wealth protection agency, to pass on information to families and businesses on how to protect your assets and pass them on to individuals without having to go through probate and all the other um, agencies out there that can delay the movement of assets.
Okay. And since you bring up probate, let's talk about because I do have some questions for you. Let's talk
Okay.
about probate. Let's talk about wills, and let's talk about the difference between a probate and a will and a trust. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay. Well, let's just start with a will. What a will does, it basically tells your family members or your heirs or whomever you desire to leave your assets to what they're going to get. They are more after transitional, after death documentations that instruct who should receive what. That's the long and short of a will. Um, Wills do not in any way provide protection from probate. You still have to go through probate. That can be a delayed process. That can take a lot of time before the family members or heirs obtain access to the assets. When you put them into a trust, what a trust does is a trust allows you to avoid probate. It allows you to move the assets after transition from yourself to whomever your heirs may be, or whomever you desire to have access to those assets. And a trust is very good for doing that. And it also offers you some protection. And we like to use trust as part of our build out in an estate plan. Now, what a trust doesn't do, it doesn't really tell the individuals or the heirs what you want to do with those assets. It just passes them along to them, and then they decide what they want to do. They can sell them or, whatever they desire to do, because at that time they have full control and they have ownership. What we like to do over here is we like to add governance and build out an estate, because the importance of those assets in explaining to your heirs what you want those assets to do. And that's creating a legacy. What we've seen happen, Saj, is that sometimes individuals that worked hard and accumulated a lot of assets, and they pass them on to their heirs with no instructions. And sometimes the heirs just go and they use them as they so choose and destroy a family legacy. So what I ask individuals to do is fill out your statement of wishes with your trust. What do you wish to have happen to those assets?
Right.
You may have a family home that you may want to keep in that bloodline forever. Well, we need to speak to that. Before the heir obtain the asset, that needs to be spoken to so that we can protect it. So that's what we do. Not only protect the assets while you're here, we protect your legacy when you're gone, ensuring that those assets align with your wishes.
So what and you mentioned probate. So I want to make sure everybody understands, what is probate?
Probate is actually a part of the government. When you leave a will, what you're saying to probate is give me instructions on who should get what at a particular time. Probate, because a will can be contested, probate is like a mediator. When there's contestants, they stand and make the decisions for you, versus you having a trust and making your own decision. So that's how probate works. It's a part of the government that puts in place a plan for your assets when you don't have a plan.
So you're saying, let's say I have a will in place, and that's all I have. And let's say someone comes up, and let's say I have an estranged uncle, and my uncle comes up, I'm dead, and my uncle says, "Hey, Voyland said that I was going to get $10,000." Are you saying because I have a will and probate and it's not tied in probate that's going to slow things down because it's not specified? Could that potentially happen?
Absolutely, because it's being contested. You can contest the will. You can't contest the trust, but you can contest the will. A lot of assets have been held up quite a long time in probate because of contestation. As long as people are contesting it, probate has to investigate it.
And when you say contest, you mean and family members going back and forth with who should get what? That's that, not.
We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen, Side, when they say, well, they weren't in their right mind. That is the classic statement to use to contest the will. They wasn't in their right mind. That's the only statement you need to use if you want to contest the will. They weren't in their right mind. That will open an investigation, and that will freeze the movement of all the assets, insurance policies, RRAs.
What about, people just passed away. What about what word am I looking for? Kindness. What about just the generosity of the family coming together? You saying families just go back and forth and argue and bicker over stuff?
Sorry. Reality. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. More times than I would say, and this is not hypothetical. Let me I like to stay in the lane of facts. Statistics say 7 out of 10 families that have a will only will be contested.
7 out of 10.
That's facts.
Wow.
Statistics that will get contested. Now, we're not talking about an assets of only $20, but where there's a home or vehicles or jewelry, even insurance policy, it get contested. 7 out of 10 times they end up in probate.
So then how much does a person, like when people hear estates and trust, my understanding when I came to you, it was, do I have enough? Do you have to have multi-millions of dollars coming in or all these assets in order to have a trust or an estate?
Well, I answer the question this way. If you have anything, you have an estate. Be it a car, a vehicle, anything that you can pass on after transition, you have an estate. And it needs to, you should have a plan on who's going to get it and what they should do with it when they get it. Um, One of the things we like to protect when it comes to an estate, and first thing we look at is what it is that you have and whom do you desire to give it to. And I'll put it this way, we like to see what furniture you have and then build your house for it, versus building you a structure and then let you decide what you're going to put in it. What do you have? What needs to be protected? And whom should we be passing it along to? And from there, we decide the structure.
So you're saying it
So
doesn't matter. Everybody has, if you have anything,
yeah,
you have an estate.
you do.
Because it trans. So when you pass away, because things go to the estate of that
Yeah,
individual's name.
exactly. And so what we like to do is look at what you have and determine the size of the structure we need to build for it. But if you have anything, just a car, you need a trust. You need, period. You need a trust. If you have a home, you definitely need a trust. You have jewelry or art, you definitely need a trust. Do not leave it up to probate to determine when your heirs will get your assets. Do not leave it up to probate. And then it's costly. Probate don't do it for free.
Oh wow.
They
So
put a
you're
cost
saying
on it as well.
people, so the money comes from the estate, from the assets of the estate to pay for
Yes,
probate. So
absolutely.
this is
To
not a
pray.
government, like a government program that's free for everybody.
No, it's a government plan
A
that
government
you pay
plan.
for not planning.
Say that one more time.
It's a government plan that you pay for not planning.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
That one like just hit me in the chest. Okay. A government plan
that you pay for.
that you pay for, but not planning.
Exactly. Because now the government has to take time and plan out who's going to get your assets and when they're going to get them.
No, I didn't
And
know
they
that.
charge
I thought this
you. And
was
they charge.
I thought this was a court system. Like you're when you go to court and let's say you don't have a lawyer, you're provided with a state attorney. And the state
No,
attorney takes so with your stuff, that's not the
no,
case.
no. You have to pay for the individuals who that it's a fiduciary fee.
For this, understand
Yeah,
that.
and you pay that to probate.
Wow.
And depends on how long your assets may stay in probate,
Mm-hmm.
and litigation determines what the fee is. It's not a flat cost. So you could lose quite a bit of your wealth while it's being mediated through or litigated through probate. So again, it
Oh
probate
wow.
provides a plan on how to distribute the assets in lieu of you not having a plan.
And we talked a lot about, and that's great. We should, because you always hear people talking about my legacy, my legacy. I want a generational wealth. We want to leave this generational
Right,
wealth, and that's great.
right.
But what about when people are alive on this earth? Let's talk about what this estate trust. What kind of control does it give people?
Well, when we look at just the trust alone, and again, the trust is just one component that we use in our wealth protection plan. Um, Trust is just one component. The trust is like the warehouse that holds the assets. But the trust in itself does not do anything with the assets. We have to create documents to say what we want those assets to do. Because if an asset that's sitting there is non-performing, it's not doing anything for it. So not only do we want to protect it, but we want to ensure that that asset is performing while you're here. And it's also being um, looked at as part of your legacy. How are we going to transfer this asset along? So we build out of states and use a trust to hold the assets with the state. The state comes with, when I speak of a state is a plan. It is a plan that we put together for every asset that you have, how it will be utilized while you're here, and how your heirs will utilize them when you're gone.
Okay.
It is a plan that includes different pieces of structure. And trust is one of the pieces of structure that we use. We use LLCs, we use nonprofits, um, we use different types of trusts. So an estate plan is something that I think everyone should look at having. It's if you don't have one, probate going to give you one.
You're going to get one anyway.
You're going to get one. When you leave here, you're going to leave here with a plan. Either the plan you left or the plan they gave you. Your assets will have a plan. I say to people, put together your own plan.
So what happens to an individual? Let's say someone passes away, they have all of this stuff, but they don't have any heirs, no any family members. What does the court system do with that? All of that?
Well, the court system first going to look for next of kin, and that can be a lengthy process and costly. And if they can't find anyone, then it is automatically given to the state. And the state uses that's liquidated for cash.
And so then we have all those different auctions that people see, car auctions, home auctions, and all of that stuff, because someone did not
property
plan.
That was moved through probate because they didn't have a plan to leave their assets with anyone. And so probate sold them.
And I'm assuming this is an assumption that the court, when you say look for next of kin, they're not going to put that much energy into it.
No. They will put some energy, but again, they're not going to put a lot of energy in it. It's not in their best interest to put a lot of interest in it.
Right.
Because if you didn't leave a plan, why should they be too much concerned about helping you with a plan? They will actually sell it.
Right. So now all your assets that you worked hard for are now being pushed out to whomever. Because I've seen a lot of these auctions. I've seen a lot of different auctions, purchased vehicles from auctions, and I've always wondered where the ones I hear about is like the police seizing things, but then I don't think police are seizing all of these homes.
No. Quite a bit of probate. A lot of those auctions have a lot of probate. They don't list it that it came through probate, but it came through probate.
Wow.
It came through probate. Quite a bit of homes, a lot of homes are in probate, and quite a few vehicles are in probate.
Oh, wow. Okay, so then let's say an individual is looking to get started. Where would they go? Like what would they do? How would they even get started with this whole process?
Well, the first thing I would say to an individual is to get with a wealth protection agency and start with your statement of wishes. What do you have, and what do you wish to happen to what you have when you're no longer here? And start the conversation there, and let them talk to you.
And you're saying it's that simple. You go
from
what you have and what you want to happen to your assets.
Everything starts with a statement of wishes. What do you wish? What is your wish for your assets?
So it's not this big, long, elaborate thing that, when you look at the world, sometimes things are people gatekeep information, and then a lot of times we don't seek out information because of fear or because of things that we've heard. But you're saying the process is as simple as creating what you have and what you wish to happen to your stuff.
Yes. And we build structure from there. And from there, we can advise you on what we feel you should do, what type of structure you need. Typically, we would have a person do a quick questionnaire with us on our side. And from there, we can gather up that information, have a quick Zoom with them, and get them along the process. It's not a complicated process. It's not as costly as what people think. A lot of people, they fear the unknown. Mm-hmm. And when they hear about estate plans and they hear about trust, the first thing they think is wealthy.
Wealthy.
Yeah, they think wealthy. The wealthy is the only ones that need one. It's going to cost me a whole lot of money to put it together. And so they delay it and they delay it and they delay it. And some just may go and just get a wheel. Say, well, I don't have that much. I just get a wheel. And I wish people would look more further into what an estate plan really is and why it's so important they have one. because it's extremely important. I've seen people work so hard and have nothing in place to protect those assets. Family members get to squabbling over who's going to get what, or probate that's hold it up and put a lot of fees on it. And that legacy is just fractured in
Mm,
such a way that it shouldn't be. Um, that good name, a person have a good name. That's part of your legacy. That's part of what you want to leave to carry on. What I ask individuals do is write a letter to the generations beneath you, fourth, fifth generations. Of one day they may read that letter and they say, wow, this is what my great, 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 great grandparents left us. This is why we're in this position today. And here's a letter they wrote to us. It's a sentimental part of that we lose when we don't have an estate plan. We lose that name, our legacy just get dropped. But when we pass things along, not only just the assets, but like I say, a simple letter or something like that, we keep our legacy alive. And that estate plan is that is just as important as who get the assets. It's the legacy, your name
mm.
that carries on through generations. And so when we build out an estate plan, we take all that into consideration. We're not just looking at the assets. We're looking at you, the individual, and your legacy, your name. The most valuable thing you have is actually your name. It's much more valuable than the assets. That estate protects all of that. And who don't want to protect their name?
All right.
So that's so,
No,
so that
that's powerful. I tell you, I'm sitting there just listening, and I'm so glad that we're working with you right now. And so why? And so I've had a chance to get to know you, on a personal level. But why should people trust you? You had now listen. You come with all the credentials. You got the school. You got all the three letters, PhDs, all of that. And but why should people? I know why I trust you. But why should people trust you?
well that that kind of caught me off guard. People should trust me. Well, I'll say this. I'll say this, and in all sincerity. And it is maybe cliche, and a lot of people say this. This is my ministry. I do this for God. Honestly, everything I do this for God. God gifted me with a wealth of information and knowledge. And I love seeing people succeed. I love if I can tell just a small bit of my background.
Yes, please.
Um, while I was in college, working on a PhD, we started this ministry called, and I won't say the name of it, but it was to house men and women that was down on their luck and struggling. And and it went on to be a large ministry in multiple states. And um, we did great works. We helped so many people. And one thing I noticed that in doing that type of ministry and the ministry of helps is that you want to see people gain more than just a clarity on who they are. You want to see them grow. And in that, I said, God, it's more that I can do. I can help because the lack of finances were hurting so many people who wanted to do more, but they couldn't accumulate the finances, or they'd get them and they'd lose it. And so I said, if I can help people understand the power of wealth. And so that's what brought me into this wealth protection and all. It was ministry that led me here. It wasn't money for myself. I've done quite well. It was ministry. How can I help people maintain some type of balance, keep their legacy alive, protect? There's so many ways to lose wealth. So many ways. There's more ways to lose your wealth than it is to obtain your wealth.
It is.
And I wanted to get ahead of people and say, don't lose your wealth. My background, my father was a sharecropper. We didn't have in place anything to protect our wealth. My father died when I was 6, and the land that supposed to be ours was taken, and we became homeless
Mm.
at the age of 6. Because we didn't know about trust in estates, we didn't have the proper paperwork in place. So I'm speaking from a place where it happened to me. We lost our wealth. It wasn't protected. And so we became homeless because we had no paperwork in place to say the land was ours as sharecroppers. That hit hard. And it has been a driving force for me all my life is to never have people lose what they have worked hard for or have someone come right along and take it. And it drove me into ministry and then led me to this part of ministry
And it's not
because
like we
this
haven't
is my
seen that
ministry.
happen in America,
No,
and I will talk about my country. I love my country, but we have seen some abhorrent things happen to people
no,
who have had land, who have
no,
had assets, and those assets have been taken because
no.
of lack of knowledge or lack of preparation.
Yes,
And I know I
preparation.
threw that question at you, and I appreciate the
No.
honest answer because I want the listeners and the viewers to understand who you are and your passion that I've
Yeah,
had an opportunity to be a part of and share in. And it's just there are just individuals that just want to see other people. That's real leadership. Real leadership is your only gain is to see others do better.
exactly.
That's your only gain from it. There's no financial gain. There's no
Mm-mm,
spiritual gain. There's
mm-mm,
no physical gain. There's the only gain that you
mm-mm.
receive is to see other people
Yes,
achieve greatness. And
yes.
there are individuals on this planet that want to see other people without any other thing coming
Ulterior
in.
motive. There's no
Yeah.
ulterior motive
Right. You just want to see other people do good. So no,
because
I
you've done
appreciate that.
well.
Right.
And it's you want to give back.
Mhm.
You just want to give back. And that's the pleasing part of this
And you've authored
is
three
that
books, right?
yes,
Can
right.
you name? Can you share those names of the books?
Okay. I did a book, Fish for All, and it's on my website,
Okay.
and it's about the compassion of God. And then I also did a book, You, Your Taxes, and IRS, because we work with a lot of individuals on helping putting together structure to lower tax liabilities as well. So I authored a book on You, Your Taxes, and IRS. And then we also did another book on tax laws made simple. And this was for more for corporations that we do a lot of back end structure for large corporations. We work with billionaires all the way down to no nairs, building a lot of structure to avoid certain things that comes with taxes to put in that type of structure. So not only do we build out the estates and like that, we also do the back end structure to ensure that everyone will pay their fair share in taxes, but you don't want to pay what you don't have to pay.
Right.
So so I wrote also authored the book on that. Um, but yeah, and then other things that I do in the animation side, I'm the creator of Baby Word on the Squad, a series that an animated series that deals with global warming. Something that's very dear to my heart because the planet is being overheated and someone has to speak to it. So it's an animated series to speak to kids to on little simple things they can do to help make the planet better. Recycling or turning off lights when they're not being used or not that's wasting water. So uh, I have passions and things outside of this, but this is my ministry to help people protect and maintain their assets and not lose their assets. That's where we work too hard
Mhm.
to accumulate what we have. So we definitely don't want to just lose it because we didn't put in place proper paperwork that we now have access to. My mom and father didn't have access to this knowledge.
Mhm.
And as a result, they became victims. But now we have access to this knowledge, and so we don't want to see people get destroyed because of the lack of it. And if I can be a voice out here and a mouthpiece to tell people, whether you work with my agency or not, that's irrelevant. Protect what you have. Protect what you have. Um, if you have anything, protect it, starting with your name. You
Wow.
need to protect that because it's rather to be chosen than silver and gold.
Mm.
So protect that.
Because I mean, I know I understand the value of what you bring to the table. I myself, I know how to help people make a lot of money. That's easy. The financial
Yeah.
literacy part, not so easy because sometimes people brain shut down and they
Right.
think they have it all
Right.
locked. But once they go through the training, they open up and they're become my best friend and they, oh man, thank you for
Right.
sharing this knowledge. And all that
Yes.
knowledge is great. Making the money is great. But if that stuff
Yeah.
is not protected in the right way, you
Right.
end up with the government's plan, the court's plan, probate, and
Yes.
now all of those assets you've created, by the time they get down to the people you wanted to go to, it could end up being nothing.
Right. Because by the time they put their fees on it and their costs on it, yeah, you're not going to get what they initially gave you because probate going to get paid on it.
Probate
Again, they're
has to
going to
get
charge
paid.
you for that plan.
Right.
They're going to come up with a plan, and their plan may be to give this so much to this person, this much to this person. Plan maybe sell the house and all of the heirs get us. So whatever disputes are there, they're going to come up with a plan
Mm-hmm.
to solve those disputes. But they're going to charge you for that plan. Um, and the plan they come up with may be so far from the plan that you would have wanted, maybe so far from the plan that you would have wanted. So it's better to put your own plan in place.
And you laid it out as simple as it is.
Oh,
Statement of, what you have, your statement of
it's a
wishes,
plan.
and then you all take it from there. Now, let's say someone wanted to reach out. What is your, and I'll post it, what is your
Yeah.
email address?
They can reach me at m.parker@parkerwealthadvisory.com. And I can put it in the chat, but m.parker@parkerwealthadvisory.com.
Yeah, I'll have it posted. And then, so once they reach out there, and then what is your website as well, sir?
Is www.parkerwealthadvisory.com. Very simple. parkerwealthadvisory.com. And it is a very simple process. They reach out to us. We just ask a few questions. And from there, we just give them some advice. They can use our firm or they can do it themselves. Where I doubt if they can do it themselves. Some maybe, but most likely they're going to need an attorney to help build this out. And get someone that specializes in wealth protection, that has that type of background. But you start with your statement of wishes. What do
Statement
you
of
wish
wishes.
to have happen to what you already have? If you leave today, what's going to happen to your assets? If you're no longer with us today, what's going to happen to your assets? Do you have a plan in place for your assets? If you have a home right now, what's going to happen to your home? Will they sell it? Will they keep it? Who's going to live in it? Who's going to do the upkeep and maintenance of it? What's the plan for that house? Is it going to stay in your bloodline forever? What's the plan for that house? If you have any jewelry, what's the plan for that jewelry? Can they sell it, or do you have a ring that you want to remain in your bloodline forever and forever and forever? Do you have any governance docs explaining what's going to happen to that asset, or are you just going to pass it along and let them decide what they want to do with it? What do you wish happened to it? It's yours. Let it be your wish. We help you think it through. Take it. What is your wish?
I can attest to that. Your company definitely makes it easy, the whole process. And speak to, before we go, I want you to speak to all, there's a lot of different people out there doing trust and estates and these cookie cutter programs. So speak to the cookie cutter programs versus what you all bring to the table.
Again, a cookie cutter program to me, again, having a trust is great. It's a great vehicle to have. Most cookie cutters is they build a house and then you just bring the furniture. Again, we need to know what the furniture is and then build a house around the furniture. That's the difference between a cookie cutter, to make it as simple as I can in layman's terms. Cookie cutters is they take for granted everybody's gonna live in the same style house and they all look the same. Like some communities you go in, every house look the same.
Right.
There's, one may have a tree in the yard and one may not, but all the houses are just the same. Well, everybody's life ain't the same. Everybody's assets ain't the same. Everybody's wishes ain't the same. So why should everybody trust me the same? It has to be individualized based around you and your wishes and what your assets currently are, and maybe what assets you may get in the future. And that takes time to sit down with an individual and get an understanding of who they are first, get to know them first, versus just giving them a cookie cutter trust
And
with
people
a
are not
name.
alone. I can tell you, you're not alone with your company. You're not doing this by yourself.
No,
It's very user friendly. What you bring to the table is very user friendly. It actually has been very simple, and that's what I want the listeners and the viewers to understand. This is not a hard process, and you're being
no,
educated along the
no.
way. Your eyes are being
Yes,
open to so many things, because there is an opportunity for a lot of things to be sold. There's an opportunity for the course to make a lot of money.
yeah,
And like
they make a lot of money.
I'm a firm believer. There was a point where I was always upset that people were not taking the training that was
Right.
given. And now I come to a place where I understand that, and as horrible as this sounds, and I do my best to push against it, but financially illiterate people actually help the economy better. They do.
I
And
heard you say
again,
that once before. Wow,
yeah,
that's a powerful
yeah,
statement.
and I do my best to push against that. But if you
Yeah,
don't want to learn, you're going to help the economy because there's no delayed gratification, there's no understanding of the tax system, there's no
mm,
understanding of money, and just because you
right,
have money doesn't mean that you understand money. If you have not
right,
had any formal training in a certain area, how can
mm,
you sit and say just because you're managing it, how can you sit and say you're managing to the best of your
right,
ability if you've never been given that
right.
ability?
Very true. Very true. And when you first said that statement, I thought about it and I said, that's a very powerful statement. And that's what happened. If you look at the public school system, they don't teach anything about wealth protection or financial management or financial planning. When we put together a state, I like to have three parts on, first of all, the assets you have, how are they working for you? Then who will receive them assets and how they're going to work for them. The assets you currently have, how they're working for you, who's going to receive them, and how are they going to work for them. And we build that out in three parts. The, the investment plan, what's going to happen if you got liquid? What's going to happen with that money? Is it going to be invested or someone that's going to have access to just go and spend it? So we like to have a plan in place for that. And that's, part of the financial plan, that investment plan. Then not only that, we need to have some type of retirement plan. You know, Why you got these assets now? How do these assets, how much of what you have is going to your retirement? And those come together and create that financial piece. Then from there, we create governance docs to say now how the heirs will use it when they obtain it. What are their financial plans? How do you want your assets to be used once they obtain them? Do you want them to be able to liquidate them? Do you want them to be able to invest in this or invest in that? So we like to talk all that through with you, make it as simple as possible. So at the end of the day, what you're going to get is a complete plan of your wishes for why you're here and when you're gone for you and your assets. And that's an entire estate plan. And
Hmm.
we all need one. Everyone needs one. Everyone needs one. Everyone needs one.
I appreciate you saying that multiple times because that needs to stick. Sometimes to get past this gray matter and stick in that brain of ours, we need to hear things
Yeah.
multiple times. So as we get ready to wrap this up and close, what do you
Okay.
want people to take away from this? Yes, everyone needs one, and we've heard who you are. What do you want people to leave with as we're wrapping up and closing out?
The main thing I would say is don't leave it to the government to come up with a plan for you. Don't let the government charge you for a plan that doesn't even align with your wishes. If you're going to pay for a plan, pay for one that aligns with your wishes. Because when it's all said and done, a plan is going to be attached to your name when you leave here. Either one that the government gave you or one that you left behind yourself. But it's going to be a plan for everything that you leave behind, even to your own physical body. If you don't have a plan for that, the government gonna have a plan for that. Either cremated or buried. They gonna have a plan for it.
Right. Hmm.
So you got a body, you need a plan. So a person say, I don't need an estate. I don't need a plan. I don't own none. You own yourself. You own your
Right.
name. You
Your
own
name
yourself.
and your
And you
body.
need a plan for that. What's going to happen to your body when you leave?
It's also the
So
responsible thing to do, as opposed
yes,
to just, well, I'll be dead. I don't care what
selfish.
happens.
Don't be selfish and then leave it up to your family. I'm just, it doesn't matter. And I've heard people say that. So, well, when I'm gone, it don't matter what happened to what I'm gone.
Mhm.
That's a kind of selfish way to say that, but you know, don't leave that up to your family. You know, leave them a plan.
Right.
That is the greatest gift you can give your family when you leave.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not the assets. It's a plan.
It's a plan.
It's a plan.
And then the family members are staying because they already miss you. You're already gone. The family's staying intact. People are not going after assets. People are following your wishes, your
Yes.
guidelines, and people don't
Yes.
have to put fill in the blanks and make things up or what
Right.
we think or this and that.
Right.
It's already, and again, it's not expensive at all. It's
I
not
know.
because again, it's going to cost. It's going to cost,
Yes.
and the cost will come from your current assets. So you might as well
Yes.
lean in while you're alive and
Yes.
protect what you currently have and go from there. I remember one of the stories you shared with me about a young lady who was working on her assets, working on
Yes.
this, and unfortunately, she was in an accident. And by the time everything was said and done with the accident, her estate wasn't in place, and she ended up losing a lot of things that she
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that do happen. That happens quite a bit. We had another client where he's the state is a client of ours now. At the time, they were not. And they had something similar. They didn't have anything, and they was putting some things in place, but they didn't have enough in place. Um, and unfortunately, when they passed, who would have been the heirs was in their vehicle with them, and so unfortunately, the whole family was lost. We didn't have any contingency heirs in place or anything like that. So, and they had quite a bit of assets. They had quite a bit of assets, and it went into probate. Um, I heard from two of the family members. That's how my firm took over their estate. They were trying to find a way to move it through probate and get holds to the assets because they were next of kin. Where probate was doing the next of kin search and trying to find next of kin. And this went on for a little over a year and a half before they finally got access to the assets. And they were the next of kin.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got access to the access, almost 17% of what the value of the state was already gone.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because they didn't have in place that estate plan.
And that 17% could have been put in up front, or actually a lot less,
A lot less.
and then had
The
a
plan that
plan
they
in
give
place.
you most likely always gonna cost more than the plan that you can put in place for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Doc,
Yeah.
listen, it has been a pleasure. I
Oh,
always love
pleasure.
listening to you. Always love being educated by you. Again, I can help people make money. I can educate people on how to manage it and invest it, do all of that. What the missing piece, you fill that in, and that is the part of protecting your assets, protecting your name, protecting your body, protecting your
Yes.
wishes.
Yes.
You've been given out of the millions and millions and millions of sperms that make it to that egg. You've been
Yeah.
given life. We've
Mm.
been given life. We've been blessed with life. Out of all of the numbers that was chasing that egg, we made it.
Mm. Yes.
And why give that away to the court system? Why not take control of that and put that in the hands of an individual who has authored 3 books, who clearly loves God, God clearly loves him, and you just want to see people do well.
Yes. Yes.
So, Doc,
I,
thank you for your time, sir. And I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your transparency. And with
yeah.
that, hey, listen, reach out. And like I said, I'm going to post everything. So reach out to Dr. Parker and his organization. They're a great organization. Take care of yourself. Take care of your assets. I
Yes.
hope you all have a great day. Let's continue to get that financial freedom. God bless and take care.